You can start. You can start. It's okay now.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to. So I picked on this subject matter on the effects of the COVID-19 on community sports, with a bias towards player retention. So. Just to give us a brief background, obviously, I think we are all privy to the fact that the world generally had been attacked, if you will, by the COVID pandemic in late 2019, whose effects were unfathomable because we had never experienced anything like this. I think, in as far as I mean, since the Second World War. So the COVID pandemic obviously brought a lot of ripple effects that affected a lot of sectors, and in this case, obviously, we have a bias towards community sport. Being a practitioner of community sports myself, I think I can bear witness that the effects thereof were humongous. We have, for example, fewer countries, communities in this respect, we prepared for the pandemic, especially in the areas of community sports and community and sports development. So most of us were caught unawares. If you still remember very well, some of the measures that were put in place by our leaders globally, we had a lot of a lot of back and forth in as far as community sport was concerned. So sorry about that. And the pandemic exposed the underfunding and neglect of physical education and community sport, which resulted in the sector being unable to serve as a significant source of resilience for for the country populations. I think was it last week or 2 weeks ago when the Minister of Sport was emphasizing the need for the resumption of PE in schools. I think that one is also was also one of the areas that really suffered. Not necessarily because of the COVID in this respect, but the fact that there was no PE, physical education activities in schools, in most schools, to be exact. I think that also, saw a huge impact. In as far as the COVID pandemic was, PE, as a result of the pandemic, with a likely severe impact on mental health and general well-being. The pandemic exacerbated the already lower participation of girls and women in sport, and as you know, most sporting disciplines in Zambia have got less women or girls participants, and the fact that there were these restrictions in as far as gatherings were concerned, I think this really hit hard in as far as the participation of girls and women was concerned. And then many sports organizations, including their athletes, responded with immediate cooperation with closures and other public health measures. I think when we look at this, when the government announced during their daily COVID updates that schools were closed and that sporting disciplines or sporting activities were put on hold for an unspecified period of time, I think a lot of athletes really felt the impact. As you know, most of our athletes actually make a living from the sporting disciplines that they take part in. Hence, the closure or the restrictions thereof actually had a huge impact on them, because where were they going to be getting their daily bread? I think the economic impact it actually exceeded what all of us had actually imagined, because there were layoffs in places of work. A lot of people were told to work from home, meaning their allowances or salaries were to some extent reduced or halved if they were lucky to still have a job at the end of the day. And the public health measures obviously also had an impact, because if two people were seen working together without probably masking up, it was to a large extent a violation of the COVID protocols, and there were those repercussions that followed. Then volunteering in in emergency centers. It also had its own impact, because locations like the OIDC and the Heroes Stadium, I'm sure you all remember that they were turned into COVID isolation facilities. Hence, players and athletes and people who use those facilities for their daily exercises were also impacted. Hence, it was just an all-round impact on the general populace and community sport in particular, because obviously, as you know, OIDC houses a lot of sporting disciplines. A lot of kids from Lusaka and surrounding areas, they troop to the OIDC to take part in the various sporting disciplines that are held there. And the closure or the restrictions that came with the COVID, affected kids in that respect. And so physical distancing, obviously, and the importance of ongoing physical activity, the repurposing of facilities, obviously, for emergency shelters such as the OIDC, and other facilities, like, for example, here in Kabwe, we had a facility, what's the name again? Is it Muleya Stadium in Wacha constituency? It was also turned into an emergency shelter, and some of the buildings around town were also turned into food depots, obviously, to just try and minimize the impact. Most sporting organizations developed innovative approaches, obviously, to the changed circumstances that the virus necessitated, thereby creating programs that could be delivered online. One of the approaches that we took in rugby was to ask our athletes, especially those that were perceived as high performance athletes, we asked them to continue training from home, and I think this was happening in almost all organizations, if I'm not mistaken. Athletes were asked to give updates online to their supervisors, to their coaches, and to administrators, so as to stay updated on what was happening and who was doing what and who was doing what, where and when, and stuff like that. And this was one one of the positives that came out. But in as far as the effects, the negative effects was concerned, was also the fact that since athletes were confined to specific locations, it meant there was a lot of downtime for the athletes. If they were not allowed to go out and practice their skill, it meant most of them had a lot of time on their hands. And most of our athletes obviously are young and they are very energetic and their testosterone levels are very high, and trying to suppress all those testosterone levels was also one of the negative effects that actually culminated from the restrictions of the COVID. This, to a large extent, also brought its own ripple effects in as far as community sport was concerned, because it meant most of the players, if they were supposed to be training 6 hours in a day or 3 hours in a day, and since they couldn't access the gym, they couldn't access the training activities or training facilities in this case, they had to find something else to do so as to minimize on their testosterone levels. So to a large extent, we saw a lot of teenage pregnancies. We saw a lot of drug abuse. We saw a lot of young boys and girls going on the streets. They became beggars because their source of livelihood, in this case, was tempered with by the COVID. And I think just to add on that, the modifying and creating of new activities, it also had its own advantages, obviously, because not all was lost in as far as the effects of the COVID was concerned. So maybe before I proceed, Kenny, in your sporting discipline, what new activities, what new ways did your organization come up with during the COVID restrictions that you think worked well to the advantage of your athletes?
Oh, thank you so much. For us, what we did, just like you mentioned, we had some online sessions, and during this pandemic time, our international mother body introduced some online academy where athletes can actually learn and then also submit videos, and also just basically even not only athletes but also coaches and administrators were given an opportunity to learn just using online systems, and basically it's just submitting some kind of reports and also video of what activities are keeping them busy, which also had a challenge because some of the coaches or athletes who are trying to train come from places where internet is a challenge to access. So some of them it was a challenge, but to those that are along the line of rail where internet is okay, they managed to learn through the online academy. Yeah. That's it. Hello, can you get me?
Yeah, we can get you. I think just maybe some delay from Tom's side. Yeah, but contribution was quite clear. Yeah. So
Okay,
Tom,
thanks.
can you get us?
Loud and clear.
Yeah. But I think I don't know about Tom. It looks as if he couldn't get anything. But maybe something that I can just put on the floor right now is I think one thing that I've been thinking about is regardless of the effects of COVID-19, on the sports fraternity, locally or in the international stage. I think right now what has been done over the past few months is how athletes, like what approaches have we looked at, especially for coaches that are, interacting day to day with athletes, to get athletes back on the field of play, because especially from grassroots and the community level, because it's quite different, with professional sports, because there are a lot of stakeholders involved, so they'll try to do everything as quick as possible so that they get the game going. But for athletes that are on a community level, grassroots level, what has been some of the initiatives that have been put in place, to get the athletes back into action or after the situation of COVID-19? Yeah, so I think it's something that we can discuss. Yeah.
Yeah, if I can also contribute a little bit towards that, I'm thinking often, how do you, particularly in sports that demands physical contact, you have a lot of sports where you can keep social distance, like running, you can keep a track in between you, you can still race. If you're doing individual type of sports, but particularly in team sports or in sports that demands physical contact, like judo, like things like that, what would the alternative training methods be in order to keep those sports going? Like, how do you, in rugby, for instance, Tom, how would you continue to practice rugby without the physical contact? What would the alternatives, what could you be training in the meantime? And how would that be organized? That's just some of my thinking around, or questioning, I guess, more questions around.
Thanks for those contributions. Mr. Stenge, I think we have Mr. Stenge here. He's awfully quiet. Do you have anything to share with us, sir or madam? Yeah, I'm sure he's still.
Oh, no, okay. You're putting me on the spot a little bit. Hi, I hope you can hear me.
But I think, just to proceed, a lot of organizations, obviously, sporting organizations and sporting associations, they came up with appropriate measures or appropriate activities that could be carried out in those restricted environments. This, I think, was also one of the innovative ways that that the COVID brought out in as far as community sport was concerned, because we saw a lot of people actually putting up, say, for example, exercise videos online. And I hope you don't mention this to anyone, but my wife actually started exercising because of because she started following most of those exercise videos online, and it was actually good because a lot of people had not been they had not been what's the term again? They had not been given such such platforms, because everyone was of the view that if you want to conduct any sporting exercise, you need to go to the gym. But in this case, the gym was actually brought to our homes. They were easily accessible.
Felix, can you hear us? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can get you, Perry.
I can get you as well, Pele.
I'm getting you as well.
Yeah, just I think we just have the same connectivity issue with Tom's device, or where the network is based.
Well, maybe then in the meantime we can challenge some of the other participants that we didn't hear from in terms of some of the changes that they were doing in their way of organizing and coaching sport in the time. So let's just open the floor, I think.
I think if yes, I'll let uh, uh, Kandara come through, because I think he was about to give a contribution before Tom cut him short, and he didn't realize that he was cut short. So I think this is the time that he can come through as we're waiting for Tom, to get his connection back.
Okay, I had an issue with I didn't realize my mic was off, but I hope you can hear me now. Great.
Loud and clear.
Yeah, with basketball, it's very difficult to avoid contact. But what we've kind of come up with is trying to concentrate more on the individual skill, and rather than go 5-on-5, we're breaking practices up into like two-player and three-player units, but with a lot more emphasis on the one-on-one side. So it's one player trying to improve a certain skill, then maybe take that skill into a two-unit practice style situation. While it works out good for the individual's performance and progression, it becomes difficult from a team perspective, because then it's more difficult to gel as a team when you're just simply doing one-on-one type work. So that's where the thingy has been. Yeah, I think that's what I can say.
All right, thank you very much. Anyone else who would like to add to his contribution? Because I think before maybe anyone else comes in, right now, like I'm found at the Olympic Africa Center, where we have kids that come through at the center, for different sports activities. But one thing I've noticed, before COVID and after COVID, you can see that there's been a difference in the number of kids that come through to access the center. Yeah, and then that takes me back to the area point I raised, like what have been some of the mechanisms or initiatives that have been used to get kids or children back to the field of play. Because of the COVID situation, we had over a year of not having active sports activities, and now we are looking at things getting back to normal, but our numbers are still low, and we're trying to look at initiatives that can help us get the kids back to the center, so that they can be participating in the activities that we put in place at the center, because the numbers have gone down, and we know that there are still a lot of kids out there that were affected by the COVID situation, and they've not just found maybe the motivation to get back to the center and continue practicing their sports as they were doing it back before the COVID situation became worse in the country.
I think, can I say something just to add on or just to contribute on what Felix you just mentioned?
Yeah, I think you can go ahead.
Yeah, I think one major thing we as Sports Federation needs to do is we need to really engage the TV and radio stations, and also just put up awareness programs that are specifically going to target on trying to raise awareness to say, guys, there's still sport that is being played, and it really involves a lot of finance, but we need to really make sure that we find strategies and also involve stakeholders like these guys that sell fruticanas or energy juice for the kids. We try to get them involved and say, guys, there's this tournament, the winner is going to go with a case of drinks, the winner is going to go out with a number of a t-shirt or something. We need to get the communities engaged to say sport is back on and kicking, and we need you guys. We still need you guys as athletes. We actually know that some of them have grown and maybe they have started doing other things in life, but we still need to put up measures and incentives to make sure that our athletes are brought back to the different centers. So not only the athletes, actually, as in baseball, we had actually started partnership with Family Legacy. It's one big institution, but when COVID kicked in, those guys stepped back and say we're not going to be having any sports activities in our centers. It's just now that they're trying to come back as well. So we really need a lot of awareness and just bring up all sorts of adverts to encourage the kids and also just the junior athletes and also the senior athletes to come back to a different sporting field. I think that's my contribution.
All right, thank you, Kenny. Yeah.
Okay, can I also contribute something there?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can get you.
But
okay.
Let us know who is speaking, please. I just see a Galaxy S8.
It's Andrew. It's Luke.
Oh, yes. Welcome.
Hey, how are you? Yeah. I would like to also contribute in what Felix said and Kenny in terms of the kids. The number has become, they come in small numbers now. I had a deep conversation the other time when I was at Olympic Africa with the kids, with the boys. During COVID, we had the large numbers. So now the number has gone down because some they say they started concentrating in school after COVID. So it continues like that. So sometimes the parents, they'll say, why would you go for sports instead of concentrating in school? Trying to catch up also with the situation of COVID. But now how to bring them back, the questions that they were asking me, they were saying, what's the reason for me to come and do sports? What am I going to benefit? Because if we don't do things like competitions here and then I think we'll lose out in that way. Because if we're having competitions, yeah, it will attract them and more sensitization of sports being played around. The more competition we have, I think the better chance of attracting those kids coming back. Because we had the softball game with Zimbabwe. So most of the girls who were playing there, it was their first time. And they got so excited. And some, they were even surprised that there's even competition. There's Zimbabwe coming here. So a lot of them, they wanted to start coming. Even the boys, they will come and support the girls play. And they'll start saying, we want to have more competitions. Are we going to Zimbabwe? All those things, I think will bring back the life in sport. We need more competitions. That's what I think. That's all. I don't know if anyone.
All right, thank you, Andrew, for that contribution. I'll still try to get Tom back. Yeah. So are you ready to go, Tom?
We can't hear you.
I will. So like I was trying to put up before I was kicked out. I think the effects on player retention cannot be overemphasized. One of the things that I do that I've is at quite a number of orphanages, and unfortunately, due to the COVID effects and all that, about 3 of the orphanages actually closed down due to economic factors. And the implication of that was that most of the young players were actually asked to go back where they had come from. And unfortunately, most of them were actually picked from the streets. You know how it works. And because of that, I could no longer access them, you know, to coach them and advise them and you know, give them physical activities. Most of them, you know, started, you know, they went back to using drugs, you know, this, I don't know what they call that one which they sniff and stuff like that. About 2 of them, I actually see them within town, you know, just looking all shabby and you know, and it's quite a sorry sight, because these were actually kids that I had seen a lot of potential in, you know. They were very dedicated to sport. The organization had actually started taking them back to school, and all of a sudden, you know, all those privileges, if you will, were just cut. And they had to go back to the life that they were trying to escape. The other factor was also that you know, schools had to reduce the contact time with pupils, which also later affected, you know, the community sport, because we no longer have access to players. Hence, you know, community sport in this respect went on a decline. I mean, the examples are quite many, and I would like to throw it to you. What measures did your association or federation put in place to ensure your athletes remained connected to the activity? I think I'll be willing to hear your contributions on this one. Is that Nerika Kalunga? If you will, please, you can give us your experiences in as far as measures that your association or federation put in place to ensure your athletes remained connected during the COVID crisis, or anyone else if Nerika is not ready.
Hello. I hope you can hear me.
Can hear you.
Okay. As for me, I started coaching in May this year, 2020, and most of my players, they want competitions. So for us to attract most of the kids who are doing
thanks, Kelly. I think obviously we also need to highlight the fact that most of our sporting associations, obviously, you know, were affected financially, which to a large extent ended up affecting clubs and eventually the athletes. We had a preoccupation with high performance. I think we've always had a preoccupation with high performance sport. And at the time of severe financial challenges across the entire sports sector, this created additional barriers to what could be accomplished without significant targeted public investment in community sport and obviously sport for development. When you look at it again,
Tom, sorry, before you proceed, okay, are you able to get me? Hello?
From you know,
hear.
with the impact, because the reduced impact, I mean, the reduced social, I mean, the reduced economic income, if you will, meant that some games had to be cancelled, you know, along with other social sites such as schools and other, you know, and other parameters that brought these kids together. Parents and coaches perceived severe mood changes in most of these athletes, because I think there was one joke which was circulating during that time, that a lot of marriage were actually on the brink of collapse because you know, husband and wife were forced to spend more time together. And you know, most of them were actually not used to spending too much time together. Hence, you know, perceived frictions and all that. Some marriages obviously ended up breaking, which to a large extent also affected the athletes, because now they had to, you know, they had to choose either to go with the mother or the father, or you know, such kind of impacts. You know, where some, you know, were perceived or were seen or were visible in most of these athletes. So obviously, this is just a nutshell as far as it's on player retention is concerned. But I think in this, the conversation is still ongoing. Lessons were learned, lessons are still being learned, and I think largely we are all glad to be back. I think when Pele called us for the coach developer session for the NGOs, we could tell the difference between that one and the one that we had sometime in 2019. 2019, there was a lot of interaction between the participants, and then the last year for NGOs, it was more closed. You know, you had to sit a meter or two apart, and then you had to be masked up the whole time, and then you had to be sanitized the whole time. It's still a learning phase. Are we past that phase? Nobody knows. Is this the end of the COVID? Nobody knows. But I think lessons were learned. If at all, you know, the preventive measures that were put in place during that period helped to reduce the impact of the COVID. I think it may not be a very bad idea to try and maintain some of those measures so that we can continue enjoying sport. I'm glad to report that we've actually seen the resumption of sporting disciplines in a lot of areas. Yes, Pele, you had something?
Yes, thank you so much, Tom, and thanks for despite the challenges with the connection, bringing this topic back in, I just wanted to mention towards the end now, because the time is ticking, that yesterday, in case you guys haven't heard, the Zambian Ministry of Health lifted the national mask mandate and the removal of all restrictions to mass public gatherings. And they say that this means that the wear masks in non-medical environments. So I think these messages might help us as we start to inform, as Kenny and Andrew and mentioning, the organizations and the businesses that we've been working with, the schools that we've been working with, the net around it, and hopefully that will also again now help people back. So I just wanted to contribute to that
contribution.
Yeah, so Tom, before we proceed, can you get me?
I hand it over to you, Felix.
Yes, thank you very much. Before we move any further, I think Nerika was trying to give us a contribution before you cut her off. So I think if she's still willing to come back on the floor and just share what she wanted to share with us before we officially close off the meeting.
I'd like to thank you all for tuning in. Thank you, Felix and NOC, for organizing this. Thank you, Pele, for we will continue learning. Hopefully one day we'll get we'll get better. Thank you, Kenny. Thank you, Stinger. Thank you, Galaxy SS. And thank you, America, for being part of this presentation. Thank you once again, and I hand it over to you, Felix.
All right, thanks, Tom. Are you able to get me? I think there's been some network issues. That's why.
Yeah, Felix.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so thank you very much to everyone that came through for this session. We'll be having another session around this same time next week. So we will share the topic, and the speaker will be leading, will be facilitating the next session. But if anyone wants as a topic that they would like to share with the rest of the coaching community in Zambia, please don't hesitate to get in contact with me, and we can facilitate that. And we're just looking at increasing, the number of people that attend these sessions, and also grow these sessions, because they're part of the Coach Developers Initiative. Yeah, so, and before we can officially close off, let me mention that we have 2 programs that are coming up for CDs, Coach Developers that have been trained. One will be in October, we'll send the official communication, and the other one will be in November. So I will send the official communication and the dates so that you can just clear out your calendars for these 2 important engagements for coach developers for this year. So yeah, if you noticed anyone that wasn't in this meeting and you'd like them to join our next meeting, please let them know. Same time next week Friday, and we'll have a different speaker on a different topic. So I thank you very much, and I'll be stopping this recording. It will be posted on our social media platforms for people that want to go back and just listen through. Thank you once again.